What's up, everybody? This is Christian Sands, and welcome back to another episode of the Sands Box, brought to you by the Monterey Jazz Festival. Joining me today is a very special guest. I've enjoyed getting to know him over the years and listening to him create such amazing music. Please welcome my dear friend, Gerald Clayton.
Hey, what's up?
What's up, man? How's it going?
Chilling, man. How you doing?
Good. Welcome to the Sands Box, brother.
Thank you, man. Happy to share the sand with you.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah, man. How's it going? I know you're in LA right now, and I know everything is just kind of shut down. So what's been going on?
Yeah, honestly, I can't complain. I'm safe and healthy. My family's safe and healthy. So those are the most important things. And yeah, just kind of trying to adjust, trying to ride the ups and downs of this quarantine life like everybody else. I think in some ways it's kind of similar to the lifestyle that we've lived before. We get to spend a lot of time on the road and a lot of downtime in these hotel rooms, kind of looking at the clock and the counter thinking like, when is this all over?
Right.
When do I get to go home?
Right.
But there's a new level of sort of uncertainty and it's all a bit daunting. But I try not to let it stress me out. I try to focus on self-improvement, self-betterment as much as I can. Yeah. And again, being an artist, that's something that we are used to dealing with, because we don't clock in at 9 o'clock and out at 5. There is sort of you're responsible for yourself, your own goals. And you definitely get accustomed to those days where you are just not as productive as you wish you were, and sort of the impulses maybe to be a little self-critical and try to be kind to yourself and all those things. So I feel a little bit like a seasoned warrior in this, but at the same time, there are times when it's the blues, man. It sucks.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it. So I know that you've been, especially being home, there's so many things that have been canceled or moved around. And I know this year you are the new director of the Next Gen Jazz Orchestra, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how is that being home now? I know, and you're the fourth in 50 years of doing this, and the first doing it from home. So how is that?
Well, first of all, it's a great honor just to have been considered and offered the position at all. And I'm really excited to be at the beginning of what will hopefully be a long relationship, getting to work with these fantastic kids. So yeah, it's a new challenge this year, just like everything else we're facing. There's the initial, just the bummer of not being able to actually go to the fairgrounds and all the magic that happens, as we know, at the Monterey Jazz Festival. Not getting to do that in person this year is certainly a letdown. But I think because we are creative beings and we're savvy, we'll find a way. And these cats, I already know, are really hungry for the music and for information, and so we're gonna do some special things and find a way to hopefully make a really special experience where they can explore this music and even play together, even though we're sort of alone together, as it were, separate but together. Yeah.
Right. Now, I know that you weren't originally in the Next Generation Jazz Orchestra, but you performed for the Next Gen Jazz Festival in high school, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, back in high school, I went to Los Angeles County High School for the Arts, and every year our sort of trip of the year was to travel to Monterey and compete as a big band and a combo and a vocal jazz ensemble. And that was just the beginning of being mind blown by all of the magic that the Monterey Jazz Festival has to offer. But yeah, those were some really special years that I cherish.
You met your bandmates there too, right? You met Justin Brown and
I saw Justin and all those Berkeley cats like Ambrose and Ambrose Akinmusire, Jonathan Finlayson, Charles Altura, and his brother Tom Altura. I saw all those cats in those days and sort of like checked out how cool and great they were.
Right.
But we didn't play together until a few years later at the Grammy Band, another great program that brings together high school musicians.
I'm an alumni of that too.
You know the deal, and it's crazy, man. I met Justin, I met Joe Sanders, Marcus Gilmore, Josh Evans, Trombone Shorty. Everybody was in the band, man. It was it's crazy.
Nice, man. Oh, that's excellent. So, man, so bringing up those days of just being in high school, being, young and hungry like that with the rest of those musicians, how do you think that has affected the way you guys play today?
I don't know how it's affected it, but I will say that I feel like I'm the same kid I was back then. You know, that the hunger, the essence of that hunger just never leaves, as you fall in love with these recordings that you're checking out. Maybe it's this particular artist or whatever it is. You become a sponge and you just soak up as much of that information as possible. And the rest kind of takes care of itself naturally, I found. And that really is kind of my process today still. I'm just trying to be a sponge, trying to soak up as much sound as I can. And that thing of being around other people your own age who are inspired and hungry for the music is really important too. Yeah. That's something that I'm missing in this time, is not being able just to commune, to get together with other fellow musicians and try things, to fall on your butt and pick yourself back up. I think that's totally the process. Exactly.
Like, I'm tired of just doing Zoom calls at this point. I'm ready to get to playing in real time with these musicians and just make some really good music and hang.
It's absolutely right. Yeah,
so talking about just sound, you especially as a pianist, and especially you're one of my favorite pianists around, you have such a distinct sound. You have such a distinct touch and rhythm, and the way you use your harmonies is really, really creative. Talk about your early influences. Talk about your current influences. We'll start with the early ones. Like, who were you listening to when you were a kid?
Man, thank you, Christian. It goes right back your way, man. You're one of my favorite cats. All of the breadth that you play with is just astounding. So yeah, man, early on, I guess like my first love on piano, I think, was Oscar Peterson for sure. Night Train was a huge album for me. Oscar Peterson +1, Trio +1 with Clark Terry, a Desert Island record that I still, I still rock that all the time. And really just kind of soaking up all of that feeling, that attitude, that emotion that Oscar exuded, and all of the musicians that came kind of along with that philosophy musically. Monty Alexander, Benny Green, these are cats that I was just so in love with at a really young age, and fortunately got a chance to see in person as much as I could. And that's kind of where it started, was that joyful bounce, that really like just hard swinging feel. Ray
quarter note that was
Ray Brown just like hang on to the train and ride.
Right. So now you're kind of in this rediscovery of the blues phase now, right? With your discovery of the Piedmont blues. Can we talk about that?
So yeah, I mean, from that foundation of starting with Oscar and Monty and Benny, I started getting curious about music and sounds and textures that other friends of mine were listening to and really excited about, and sort of walk through the history of the music, McCoy Tyner and Chick Corea and Herbie Hancock, and all the way to Brad Melda and Gonzalo Rubalcaba, really just like fascinated with all of the various ways to express yourself on the piano. And that, I think, kind of is the definition, I would say, of what my time in New York was really about, was really expansion, kind of pushing myself outside. And then towards the later part of my New York stint, Duke Performances at Duke University contacted me about doing a research piece in dedication to the Piedmont blues. So that was another really inspiring, great learning experience for me, where I got to become a student of this music that honestly I hadn't even heard of, really. You know, you hear a lot of, when people think blues, they go kind of straight to Mississippi Delta blues or Chicago blues. Right. But there was this really great tradition that came up in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains, that whole Piedmont region of the United States in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. A lot of it born in tobacco warehouses, you know, and I got to talk to these elders. I got to talk to historians who painted this really beautiful picture of all of the music that was happening in a city like Durham, North Carolina. You know, there was juke joint parties where there's stories of cats, you know, rolling their grandmother's church piano up the hill to the party and having a combo play there. You know, there was stories of guitar players bringing their acts to these tobacco trading warehouses where the tradesmen would spend the night with their crops, and they would want entertainment at night. And that was like a really big payday for those great guitar players. And even, you know, the idea of the process of making tobacco, a lot of it is, for instance, de-stemming the tobacco leaves. That was a job that they assigned to mostly African-American women, actually. So there were these warehouses of, imagine 300, 400 people singing hymns, you know, and that sound just attracted people. Would just stand outside of the warehouse and listen. Wow. So when I learned all that, I said, okay, cool. This is more than just, let me pay tribute to a style, to a, you know, finger picking ragtime style as it will be defined in Wikipedia, but really a rich cultural tradition that, you know, all of a sudden it expanded my idea of what I was allowed to do with this piece. Yeah. But I think the takeaway mostly was just getting to learn about something I hadn't even been hip to before that. So that was really great.
I grew up with some of that sound, like studying, like, you know, Blind Boy Fuller, Blind Willie Johnson. Yes. And funny enough, talking to Sean Jones, great trumpet player, Sean Jones, he was hipping me to like Sonny Terry. Like, he knows all of this music front and back. I mean, it's really cool to be on the road with him and talk to him. But I know that another person that has influenced at least the performance and the music in the show has been Elizabeth Cotten.
Yes.
Right?
Definitely.
And Freight Train. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. I think that was the most moving for me personally. You know, all those musicians you mentioned, it was really great to get hip to them and check out their music. But when I listened to Elizabeth Cotten perform her hit song, Freight Train, there's some footage of her performing it in her later years. You know, she must have already been in her 70s or 80s. And it just brought me to tears, man. There's a humility in her delivery of the music that just grabbed me so much, you know. And I think that is a good sort of overarching theme and title really for the Piedmont Blues, is a sort of a humility, a sort of almost polite, I guess you could say, sort of etiquette based. It's very Southern, you know, but it's a different kind of blues expression, almost to the point where people would think, oh, this is happy music, you know, these people are having a good time. Right. So it was a trip to get into that expression and remind myself, no, we're talking about the blues. You know, I got to visit slave barns, you know, actual like places in the South where you can see physical evidence of just what monstrous tragedy existed and the hardship, you know, that existed in that time, and the music that came out of that. Yeah. So the piece became also about thinking about the blues from a philosophical standpoint, that we all as humans suffer, and we all really have this deep inner need and desire to express our emotions, and to express the sorrows and express the joys. And all of that is the blues. And when you do that, the blues actually gives back to you. And you know that feeling when you play in a blues, it almost like feeds your heart. Like you feel good from it. It has this way of just allowing you to be vulnerable
and just real in that moment. And it gives it back to you. I'm right with you, man.
Yeah. So that was exactly the sort of the project for me. And really kind of making me think about when I sit down to play, what am I even doing? You know, what am I expressing? And can I get to that same place of sincerity and integrity in my expression that greats like Elizabeth Cotten got to pretty naturally, all the time. Yeah.
And I know you're using Renee Marie in that project as well.
Yeah.
Man,
yeah.
Her voice is so ridiculous.
She's so special, and really, the piece feels like it was really meant for her. You know, she lives in Fredericksburg, Virginia. She talked about how this music was just something that she grew up hearing. That those were the songs that her mother and grandmother listened to and played, and so there's a really deep connection personally for her to that music and to the piece. But just the first time we even got together and sort of walked through my tribute to Elizabeth Cotten's Freight Train, a song I wrote called Mama Said, which is based on an interview. The lyrics I wrote were based on an interview with Elizabeth Cotten where she talks about the values that her grandmother instilled in her. And that version actually of just me playing piano and Renee singing for the first time is still my favorite version of it. You know, we've done it many times since then, but there's something really pure and special about that. Renee is just incredible. I love her.
Take that. So now you are also a new Blue Note artist. Is this going to be? Are we going to be seeing this coming up, or are you going to be doing another project? What's up? What's in the future, man?
Man, you know, it's funny. I've struggled a bit with finding a way to translate the Piedmont Blues project outside of the live experience. I almost don't want to do it
because it's a real experience that you've created, man. It looks great. I mean, the background, the backdrops. I mean, everything.
Thank you. Yeah, cool, bro. I got to work with this really great director, Christopher McElroan, and he really together we shaped this visual experience along with the music. So I thought of different ways of trying to present that, maybe a DVD and stuff like that, but I'd rather just leave it be this thing, you know, and try to present it. I definitely have hopes of keeping it alive. But yeah, with Blue Note, I'm thinking more of just continuing my aspirations and documenting the music that I'm playing with my music, my fellow musicians, people I love. So the first record coming out will be a live record. It'll be my fifth record. And the first one that's not a studio album. So I'm really excited about that. We got to do a record at the Village Vanguard, and it's a quintet with Logan Richardson, Walter Smith III, Joe Sanders, and Marcus Gilmore.
Nobody good.
No good cats. Couldn't get anybody.
Man, that's killer, man.
Thank you.
All right, so that'll be out. You said
July.
Yeah,
July. Early July. Look out for that. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to check that out, man.
Thank you.
Man, well, thank you so much for being a part of this. Thank you for chilling with me in the sandbox here.
Man, thank you. As I said, it's great to get my feet in the sands with you.
That's right, man. And I can't wait for this to be over so we can actually go and hang and you can teach me how to surf finally.
Oh, yeah, man. We got to do it. I'm down.
I'm getting my courage up with the whole sharks thing.
Man, the sharks aren't even the scariest part, man. The waves will
the waves are scary. I don't know. I mean, teeth scare me.
They're somewhere in the distance. Sort of like the end of the pandemic. It's just there somewhere.
Man, well, thank you, Gerald, for hanging, and I can't wait to see you, bro.
Thank you, Christian. Much love.
Definitely, man.
All right, man.